dressed in Cornell red. Very nice. It's great to be here. I want to thank Acting Commerce Secretary Rebecca Blank, Undersecretary Dr. Kappos, our great President of Cornell, David Scorton, Deputy Mayor Steele, and our wonderful two legislators, Council Member Lappin and Congresswoman Maloney. And I noticed a good friend of mine, Andy Tisch, who's a Cornellian first and foremost, in the audience as well. He's a board member and probably has some other titles that have to do with Cornell that I'm not aware of, but he always is talking about Cornell. Anyway, today's announcement comes as no surprise to those of us who have been involved in the evolution of the new Applied Science School on Roosevelt Island. Putting the first ever federal commercialization office next to this new school makes eminent sense, because New York City is now America's fastest growing startup capital, where we have a lot of capital. But there's another reason why this school is going to be different, and why this new federal university partnership is breaking ground here today. New York is the place where young entrepreneurs want to live. You see, Silicon Valley may have given us the semiconductor and the rise of the computer giants, but New York City is the next generation, the breeding ground for the next set of great internet companies and entrepreneurs. If phase one was hardware, phase two is software, and New York is best at software. Don't get me wrong, Palo Alto and the Valley are beautiful places, hotbeds of innovation, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a capital as unique as New York City in California, Massachusetts, North Carolina. The new office makes sense here because we're the cultural capital of the world as well. And entrepreneurs are flocking here in droves because it's the ideal place not only to work, but to play. And there's unmatched energy and vitality in this city. Look how the technology industry has transformed my borough of Brooklyn, as well as Lower Manhattan. We also know that despite this success, we as a city and country have a big challenge ahead of us. We're in a global innovation race. Our competitors are investing billions in research and innovation. However, according to a recent survey of Boston researchers, American universities are struggling to take research out of the lab and into the marketplace. Listen to these troubling statistics. Most research institutions spend less than 1% of their R&D budget on technology transfer, and over half the technology transfers in America spend less money than they take in. That's a challenge for our country. We need to give taxpayers real return on their federal research investments in the form of jobs and new companies. That's why this announcement is so important today. This office is transformative. It takes the great research and, almost like Rapunzel, changes it into jobs, transforms it into jobs and new companies. So it's really important. Right here in New York City, the federal government has recognized that tackling this problem requires a public-private partnership with all the resources the government has being deployed on the ground in university towns. Now, no one was more familiar with this need and this business model than this great university's founder, Ezra Cornell. His patent for pipe-laying machines in 1844 made him a fortune that allows students from New York City and across the world to study at this great institution today. It's only fitting that we help Cornell students and professors follow in his footsteps by creating this patent office to support the STEM research that will keep New York on the cutting edge of this industry by fostering the new ideas of today that will be the thriving businesses of tomorrow. There is no reason. Now you were wondering, you thought I was going to beat somebody up. Yes, there is no reason the institution founded with money from laying these cannot be the university that is famous for patenting the next one of these. Not bad, huh? Pays to have a good staff. By placing Hello, Ezra. By placing the first university patent officer on Cornell's campus, researchers will have unique access to the resources they need to make this a center of technological innovation. I'd like to put in one more plug while we're doing this. The BRAIN Act, which I introduced recently, which says that those foreign students who will come here and elsewhere, who get a BA, MA, or PhD in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, are able to get a green card and become American citizens. And that is equally important to do. We came real close in the House, and I'm working with, of course, Congresswoman Maloney and Lamar Smith, the very conservative head of the Immigration Subcommittee in the House, and hopefully in the lame duck, with your help and support, we can get a real BRAIN Act done that will augment what we're doing here today. So thank you very much, and it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. David Kappos, the Undersecretary of, did I introduce the right person? Yes, says the advanced man. Dr. David Kappos, who's the Undersecretary of Commerce. Thank you for being here, Dr.
The stage prop. It's always fun to follow Senator Schumer in a situation like this, and that makes me the guy who gets to play the role of Rapunzel this morning, except with a little less hair. Well, look, Secretary Blank, President Skorton, it is really a pleasure to be by your side today celebrating a truly unique partnership, and one with, I think it's fair to say, one of the greatest academic institutions the world has ever known. It's also, of course, an honor to celebrate this synergy of research and innovation and, of course, American commerce with Senator Schumer and Congresswoman Maloney, and with Councilmember Lappin, and also with Deputy Mayor Steele here this morning, and really to be in the presence of some of New York's finest public servants. So just briefly, I would say the story of the Cornell NYC Tech experience is a lot, to me, like the story of our country itself. It's why the United States is fundamentally different from every other advanced economy, right? We're startup people in this country. We break norms, we are innovators, and we're willing to take chances on great ideas, and that is what sets us apart. And that's who New Yorkers are, and indeed who Americans are. And that's why we do the things like this announcement we're doing this morning. And whether we're tinkering with equipment in a basement somewhere here in Manhattan, or whether we're writing new lines of code in a dorm room someday on Roosevelt Island, innovative solutions to the social challenges of our time, indeed, are what spurs New York's progress and what spurs our country's progress more generally. And in an increasingly globalized world, it's that innovative drive that embodies the very source of American competitive advantage for the 21st century. But, you know, even with the hastening rate and the pace of technological growth, the tools aimed at moving products and services from the lab into the marketplace must match the needs of innovators in real time, in their time. They have to match the speed of business, the speed of New York business. And that's why the Commerce Department and the United States Patent and Trademark Office partnership with the Cornell NYC Tech campus is an extremely important step in ensuring that entrepreneurs and technologists, the makers and doers of our country, have access to the resources that they need in order to nurture ideas and to take those ideas and scale them into businesses and jobs for our country. So for the first time, by stationing personnel on the ground of a major graduate research institution, the USPTO will tear down the walls between university research and the federal support that has the power to help move that research from the lab to the marketplace. For the first time, the Department of Commerce will be able to bring its suite of export assistance tools and intellectual property tools and economic development tools to the doorsteps of the dorm room right here in New York. And for the first time, the Department of Commerce will be able to see the trends of the research to commercialization continuum forming in real time, right, on campus at the very epicenter of ideation. And this, in turn, will help us to examine and pilot new ways to increase New York's and indeed our entire nation's capacity for technology transfer. So what does this mean? This means that as we test and evaluate the most effective ways to promote and educate and share the department's commercialization resources with the campus in the greater New York region, we will also have the opportunity to educate ourselves about the unique needs of this distinct innovator community, and that in turn will empower us to do some innovating of our own in the federal government, improving the way that we conduct our outreach and our programs. And that means that working with Cornell NYC Tech, we'll be able to host symposia, right, and dialogues about challenges in intellectual property, such as how to address continuing issues with software patents, an effort that, by the way, is already underway in one of our first programs that we're planning here. And it means partnering with local incubators to pilot new programs on campus aimed at accelerating technology transfer in your community. And that is also exactly why we partnered right here in New York with local New York enterprise called Stack Exchange, right, to leverage the power of crowdsourcing in expanding the scope, review of software patent applications by gathering input from third parties all over the world. The global innovation community is able to evaluate patent applications for the first time, participate in the patent process, and heighten the quality of examination, and thereby strengthen the U.S. intellectual property system. So, the partnership between an agency focused on spurring manufacturing opportunities in America and a leading institution of higher learning is, in my view, the perfect match. Perfect match to fuel the New York knowledge economy, to bring cutting-edge enterprises to life, and to continue creating good jobs for New York and for our country. And no one has been a stronger advocate for that mission than the leader of the Department of Commerce, Secretary Rebecca Blank. Dr. Blank.